Hi guys, today I am jumping into traditional design style. Yes, kind of one of those, I feel like we all know what it is, but do we really know what it is and where it came from and how to implement it? So I'm going to deep dive today in the traditional interior design style. Hi guys, it's Anya from Interior Design Hub, back again today with another design style video. Today I'm going over traditional interior design, and I'm really excited to go over this one because I feel like I probably should have started with traditional interior design because it's one of the most common ones that we see, and it's a beautiful, classic, pretty much timeless in its own way design style. I think what most people maybe see when they see traditional design is you kind of think of that European design look, which absolutely, but it also takes a lot of influence from England and France and even the Far East. So what I think the attraction to traditional interior design is it's warm, it's inviting, it has just that rich kind of opulence to it. There's, it's not like Hollywood Glam, and it's not like Grand Millennial style where it's super over the top, but I do feel like it has that roots and that history in just feeling very home-like and very much a space that you could relax in, and it just feels like a traditional home, like, let's be honest. So traditional interior design style strives for harmony and order. Now, I feel like sometimes people think that that might be a little bit boring because it seems so predictable, but that is a real big factor with traditional design style. Consistency. You want to be consistent with the look. The furniture that you generally put into a traditional style home will match and will use symmetry. Symmetry is a really common theme in traditional style. When it comes to a traditional style, we're not looking to do things that are overly wild and like out there and super bold. No, it's more harmonious. And I feel like when you see it, you just feel like you're at home, and that is a part of it. It's a comfortable look, and it's almost timeless because of that. In traditional design, when it comes to the color palette, that you'll typically find a very neutral color palette. I feel like you hear this in so many design styles, so obviously keeping to a typical theme here, but it is true. I feel like that's a part of the traditional thing. It's kind of what you expect. But that's not to say that you don't have color. You just use color in your pops of art and your textiles and your decor, but for the backdrop of your space, again, it is a very neutral color palette. Now, dark, warm tones are also a part of it, but generally you'll see that more in your furnishings or your like antique wood pieces. Some of the typical color schemes that you'll see, layered on top of that neutral backdrop in a traditional interior is reds and browns and greens, and think plenty of dark wood. So sometimes you'll have that bold and saturated color palette with traditional design, but you'll also have that pale and soft side. So there's kind of two different versions of traditional style. One that's like the more traditional, and then kind of that one that I feel like you see more in the magazines, which is the traditional style, but more of a softer, lighter palette. And they're both correct to kind of defining and being traditional in style. It's really not too jarring and not too graphic. So like a part of it is being that welcoming and natural and just not, in your face. So because traditional style is largely influenced from the 18th and 19th century, for furniture, you will typically see kind of like furniture for royalty. You think of those beautiful wingback chairs. That is perfect in a traditional interior design style. It almost has a lot of that regal influence, and that's something that, that Regency style or even the Hollywood Glam style, but on a quieter scale, but the same kind of feeling in shape and scale. So you'll find with traditional furniture that it might be more ornate, it might be a little bit heavy, like think clawfoot tubs, tufted upholstery, carved wood. One of the defining furniture pieces in this look is the Queen Anne chair. So one of the things, the key elements of really getting traditional style in your home is thinking about all the details. Now, this is very important when it comes to accessorizing your space and actually making it feel like a traditional home. And that is thinking about accessories that are grand. So what would be an example of that? Candle holders and vases and chandeliers and even china sets. Also, the use of silver and gold, which we see obviously in a lot of design styles right now. We are seeing silver and gold, but traditionally that is very typical as well. With traditional design style, a lot of the smaller details that make big impacts are things like crown moldings, columns, and even wood paneling. So I love me a great wood paneled wall. I mean, doing a beautiful wainscoting in your house is a key look for traditional style. What I love about doing these details and these, especially if you do something like wainscoting or, the crown molding, they add that opulence to the space without being too much. They're not over the top. They're not super in your face. And another thing when designing your space to look like the traditional interior design style is to set a focal point, and then you kind of center around that. So it's really typical that you'll have a fireplace and then you'll have your seating built around that fireplace. And a lot of it is even with the symmetry of how you set that space up, that really is kind of a key look with these type of pieces, accessories, paint colors, and symmetry. So one of the things with traditional interior design style that I feel like you may love or you may hate, it really depends on how much you love this look, and that comes to the fabrics. And they are very heavy. Classically, they are very heavy and very ornate. And you just won't find like basic blinds or very light and airy curtains in a traditional interior design style. Typically, it's very heavy with a heavy type of fabric. Also valances, which is interesting. I just recently noticed that valances are kind of making a comeback. They haven't been in style for a very long time, but recently I'm seeing them used more again. And I think that's kind of touching on this traditional interior design style, is that there is this desire to now use them again, kind of with a modern twist. So yeah, valances are I'm loving what I've been seeing. I watched an AD episode and it was with Pharrell, and they have this hotel and they had valances and it looked really, really cool. And I was just like, wow, that's awesome. And this is also in traditional where you might add in some of those patterns. So one of those patterns that often come to mind for me in a traditional setting is the damask. Now I'm not saying that that's coming back, but that's kind of like one of those things that I always notice in a traditional design style. But there's lots of fabrics. So in a traditional style, you'll tend to see upholstery and fabrics favor more of that high-end feel. So think of silks, velvets, leathers, and then the bold patterns like paisley and damasks and even plaids. I think the one nice thing with traditional interior design is it actually works really well with mixing some modern touches into it. It seems like such a juxtaposition, but I feel like the new way to do traditional design is to mix that modern with the traditional look. So you don't have to have kind of everything super heavy and ornate, but even a lot of this stuff that's in mid-century modern has some of that traditional shape and form, and those actually tie really well together. So this is a design style where you don't have to do it all the way it used to be done. It actually is much more on trend to do it with a more modern twist to it. I think the key thing with traditional style that people are really honing in on is that it feels like home. I feel like when you're thinking about some of the other styles like minimalism or Scandinavian style or even industrial style, they're very funky and fun and edgy and like they're a cool design style, and that works for some people. But I think what draws people to traditional interior design style is that it feels like home. And I think that's what really hits this home for a lot of people, is that although they love the look of a lot of these more edgy design styles, I'm going to call them edgy design styles, or what, some people like that kind of look. Some people just want to be in a space that when they come home after a long day of work, it just feels like home and feels comfortable and feels, for them, everybody's different, And I think that's what traditional design style is doing for a lot of people. And with the amount of time we spend at home these days, who doesn't want a little bit of comfort? So if you're enjoying this video, I suggest that you check out my Grand Millennial Style video. Now, it's not traditional design, but it takes some of those elements and adds a lot of funkiness and pizzazz to it. And I think you'll really enjoy watching that video as well. All right, guys, until next time, bye.